Okay, we're looking at question 3 of my little diagnostic test here for MYP 4. It's trigonometry. So we've got to remember the trig ratios which are given to you. Sine, cos, tan. Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse, cos equals adjacent over hypotenuse, tan equals opposite over adjacent. So it's worth knowing those, but they will be given in the diagnostic test. So here, you've got an angle of 40 degrees. You've got a side A. Now that's opposite the 40 degrees. And you've got a side 20, which is the longest side. You know it's the longest because it's across from the 90 degrees. So you've got the opposite and the hypotenuse. So referring to your trig ratios, it's sine that involves opposite and hypotenuse. So we're going to use sine. Okay, so sine of 40 degrees is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. That's the A over the 20. Sine 40 equals A over 20. I don't much like fractions, so I'll just multiply by 20 to get rid of the fraction, and I need to do the same on the other side as well. So 20 times sine 40 is equal to A. And that's just something I can punch into my calculator. So 20 times sine of 40 equals, and it's 12.85, 12.86 I'll round that to. A equals 12.86, and that's in centimetres. Looking at the original triangle, that seems to make perfect sense in the context of the question, with that being 40 and that being 20. So I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's A. B. I've got 50 degrees. Then I've got B, which is adjacent to the 50, and I've got 11, which is opposite to the 50. And then the hypotenuse is not involved in this one. So this is going to be tan. Tan equals opposite over adjacent. So you establish that it involves the opposite and the adjacent, and then you say which of my trig ratios is opposite and adjacent. Okay, so that's tan that involves opposite and adjacent. So I'm going to write tan of 50 equals opposite over adjacent, so that's 11 over B. Now, in this question, it's a little bit trickier because it's worked out that the unknown thing is on the bottom of the fraction. It's the denominator. So there's going to be an extra little step to this. To get rid of the fraction, I'm going to multiply both sides by B. So I get B times tan 50 equals 11. And then I want to get the B on its own, so I'll divide by the tan 50, and B equals 11 divided by tan 50. So that's required an extra step because the unknown thing, it turned out, was on the bottom of the fraction when we put all the numbers in place. B equals 11 divided by tan 50, which is again something I can just bung into my calculator. 11 divided by tan 50, close bracket, equals, and that comes to about 9.23. So B is 9.23. It's in centimetres, so 2 decimal places. Underline. Let me just check that makes sense in the context of the original question. Okay, so 11 centimetres there, 50 degrees, 9.23 seems reasonable enough in my head. Okay, the last one, we've got an unknown angle. So we've got the 9.5, that's the hypotenuse because it's opposite the 90-degree angle. I don't really like using the word opposite because that's confusing, but it's the one that's across from the 90-degree angle. So the 9.5 is the longest side, the hypotenuse. The 8 is adjacent to the angle C that we're trying to figure out. So we've got a problem that involves the adjacent and the hypotenuse. And when you, oh, my computer just fell over there. There we go, let's just fix that up. There we go. When you're dealing with the adjacent and the hypotenuse, that's cos. So we're going to use cos equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Let's just get some paper here. Okay, so cos of the angle C that we're trying to figure out is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. It's 8 over 9.5. So that doesn't mean that C is the cos of 8 over 9.5. It means that C is the angle that when you do the cos of it gives you the result 8 over 9.5. So when you're trying to figure out an angle, you use arc sine, arc cos, or arc tan. In this case, arc cos. So it's sort of reverse cos. It will tell you the angle that gives you a cos of that fraction. And again, you can just bung that into the calculator. So on my calculator, you're going shift cos, then it comes up with this cos with a little -1 that means the same as arc cos, and then of 8 divided by 9.5, close the bracket, equals 32.6 and a bit. So C equals 32.6 degrees, which again makes perfect sense in the context of the question, for that to be 36 degrees in that triangle.